Assalamualaikum students, I hope and pray that all of you are fine and safe and sound. The course title is Language, Culture and Identity. My name is Abir Fatma and let's start. So our topic today is linguistic conflict. First we will discuss what is linguistic conflict, then we will discuss some example of linguistic conflict or language conflict, and then we will have some activities. So understanding others make possible a better knowledge of oneself. Any form of identity is complex for individuals are defined in a relation to other people, both individually and collectively, and the various groups to which they owe allegiance in a constantly shifting pattern. This definition is provided by UNESCO. Understanding and valuing cultural diversity are the keys to countering racism. All individuals must feel free to explore the uniqueness of their culture and identity while developing understanding of the cultural diversity that exists in the world around them. Denying cultural expression means limiting the expression of unique perspective on life and transmission of knowledge from generation to generation. Conflict plays a role in many social sciences. Linguistically, conflict between different ethnic groups often results from language contact. Problems viewed as political, economic, or sociological in nature are often actually rooted in linguistic conflict. Language contact and conflicts are seen as interdependently related elements applicable both to individuals and to language communities. Yet these phenomena occur only between speakers of language, not between languages per se. Linguistic discrimination, also called glottophobia, linguicism, or languagism, is unfair treatment based on use of language and characteristics of speech, including first language, accent, size of vocabulary, whether the speaker uses complex or varied words, modality, and syntax. The confusion of tongues is the origin myth for the fragmentation of human languages described in Genesis 11 from verses 1 to 9 as a result of the construction of the Tower of Babel. Prior to this event, humanity was stated to speak a single language. In the book History of Prophets and Kings by the 9th century Muslim theologian Al-Tabari, Nimrud had the tower built in Babel. God destroys it, and the language of mankind, formerly Syriac, is then confused into 72 languages. Through this myth, we can see the origin of different languages, and the linguistic conflict arises when there is a contact between speakers of two different languages. It can be two or more. Whenever there is company, there is conflict. Linguistic conflict is the conflict between two or more people on the basis of their language. When speakers of two or more language come in contact, there is always a chance of conflict. And this conflict is not superficial. It has its root deep in politics and ethnicity as well. Just like the prejudice on the basis of class, religion, or nation, there is a prejudice among people for different languages as well. People tend to think that their language is superior and all the other languages are inferior. This concept is not new. Arabic people used to call non-Arabic speakers Ajami, which means dumb or mute. And this concept is not limited to a few languages. Almost all the speakers of any language think that their language is superior. We all know that language is a crucial part of any culture. It is a dominant feature in determining the basis of nationalism or ethnicity as it represents a nation's identity and preserves its heritage. Language is also the driving force behind the unity of people and makes them distinct from other nations. Language is never imposed but adopted, and once a language is adopted, it is difficult to eliminate it from the society until the society decides to change or adopt something different. Language difference is perceived here as one of those symbolic cultural realms in which conflicts can all too easily leave the realm of politics and become a threat to peace. Language conflict is not a peace with religious or any other form of cultural conflict. It has its own particular dynamic. Furthermore, conflict over language is not a prescription for violence. In fact, under certain potentially incendiary conditions, language conflicts can help to contain violence. Many people think that English is a lingua franca because it is the language of powerful nations. Colonization is considered as one of those reasons why English is vast spread language. You might have observed that many representatives of countries like presidents, prime ministers, and ambassadors tend to speak their own language even when they can speak and understand English very well. That is because they want to promote their own language and tell the world that their language is important as well, and they want to contain the violence. Now we know the reasons behind language conflict. Let's explore some effects of language conflict. In American context, English is the main and official language. Spanish is also spoken in many areas of America, especially in the Latin America. Hispanics have been the victim of racism and glottophobia since forever. In 2014, a Hispanic American college student became the victim of linguicism when a fellow student wrote, "Kill these Mexicans can't even speak English" on his dorm wall. Mexican Americans were forced to speak in English language if they wanted jobs or even admissions in school or colleges. Apart from America, popular representation of language conflicts in Belgium, Quebec, and Catalonia suggests that cultural issues of this sort unleash irrational passions, leading otherwise sober people away from the realm of civic engagement. And the unjust underpinnings of language laws are often set, even by the combatants themselves, to induce violent rebellion. Now we will discuss the language conflict between Pakistan and Bangladesh. Pakistan faced this problem in early years of its independence when language controversy exercised far reaching effects on the subsequent history of the country as a whole. Imposition of Urdu as state language was thought unjust by Bengali speaking Eastern Wing, and they demanded that Bengali should be given equal status to that of Urdu. There was a sense of being ignored and exploited by West Pakistan, and it was thought a rightful demand on the part of East Pakistan to have its own language. Bengali, written in Devangari, was not approved by the central leadership, and this attitude was resented by Bengalis, who asserted that Bengali was as much language of Muslim as that of Urdu. This sense of exploitation resulted in the division of the country into Bangladesh and Pakistan. Language was a major factor that contributed and intensified the feeling of mistrust between the two wings. Imposition of Urdu as national language of Pakistan created disastrous problems for the country in the coming years. This decision was resented in East Pakistan as strong opposition came from its masses when the central government of Pakistan started unilateral use of Urdu in money order form, postal stamps, currencies, coins, railway tickets, and official letterheads, even without formally adopting Urdu as state language of Pakistan. Now that we have seen the real life effects of language conflict, let's move towards our first activity. This activity is called Identity Wheel. The time for this activity is 20 minutes. You only need a blank page and a pen. I would suggest that you draw your identity wheel ahead of time so that you have time for thinking. The objective for this activity is that the students will be able to become more aware of their identity. This activity will help you to be self aware and to realize the importance of your identity and its impact on you. After completing this activity in due time, submit it to your teacher. So, the tasks you have to do are: an identity is what makes a person who he or she is. Take a blank paper and write 2 to 4 lines describing your concept of identity. Now, write down all the components of your identity that can be race, ethnicity, your age, your social class, anything. Now rank these identities from most to least important as per your preference, one being the most important one. Draw a wheel or circle on a blank page like the wheel given in the next slide. Add these identities or components if you want to. Now draw a separate wheel and divide the second wheel into sections that show your parts of identity, with the size of each section relating to how aware you are of each identity on a daily basis. Now, this is the first identity wheel. In the age column, you have to write your age. In the gender column, you have to write your gender. Economic status, that can be anything. Your ethnicity and culture can be anything. You can write that you if you are physically able or not. You can also write your education level. You can write your personal politics views and your religion in that following identity wheel. This is the most important part of this identity wheel. For this template, we have age, religion, personal politics, education level, physical ability, ethnicity, and culture. You can add various components if you want to. It's up to you. It's totally your call. So I have assigned different percentages and different sections for different things. For me, religion has the biggest component, has the biggest section, then education, then gender, then ethnicity and culture, then age, physical ability, economic status, and personal politics. It's up to you. As per your preference, you can change the sections. It's totally your call. So now, after completing the wheel, tell us why you see yourself in this way. Which parts of your identity were you most aware of? Why do you think that is? Do any of these identities help you achieve your goals and aspirations? Do any of these identities make it hard for you to achieve your goals and aspirations? How much control do you have over your identity? Are there certain parts of your identity which you feel you have more or less control? Why do you think that is? You have 20 minutes for this exercise, for this activity. Moving towards our second activity. This activity is called observing practice activity on the basis of culture and language. The time for this activity is 30 minutes. You only need one or two blank pages and a pen. The objectives are students will be able to define culture. Students will recognize that some differences among people stem from culture and that some stem from personal traits and preferences. Students will distinguish between what constitutes culture and what makes up personal individuality. This activity invites students to identify aspects of culture that influence our own behavior and sometimes make it difficult to understand the behavior of other people. Submit your answer to your teacher and compare answers with your fellows to observe the beauty of diversity among us. Everyone has a culture, everyone is different. The directions for this activity are: write one sentence or phrase about each topic, then rate each item from 1 to 10. 1 is the most important one, according to what you value this topic has in your culture. The ranks are: what languages do you speak? What is your religion? What is your caste? What music do you listen to? What foods do you eat at home? What do you wear on special occasions? What holidays and ceremonies are important? What is most important to you? What things do you believe are right and wrong? How important is your extended family? The name of my culture is. Now, after this, these are the following questions. Please give answers to these questions. How does your language reflect your culture? What do you think the impact of your identity would be if you were to lose your native language? What is the effect of your language on your culture? Have you ever faced any difficulty regarding your language or your culture? Have you ever judged someone on the basis of their culture and language? Describe some fixed set of rules your culture has which can never be changed, and describe some fixed set of rules your culture has which you would like to change. What can you do to learn about and understand other cultures? What if you were a part of another culture? How might you be different from the way you are now? Do you identify yourself with any other culture or any other language? How can we use what we learn in this lesson to improve our community? How can we use what we learn in this lesson to resolve linguistic conflicts in our community? For this activity, you have 30 minutes. Now that's the best part. There's an extended activity that is optional, that is up to your teacher. Imagine that you are a part of a community that allowed no resident to display or practice any element of a cultural identity. Write a short story describing a typical day in such a community. Are the fictitious communities desirable or interesting places to be? Would it be possible or desirable to create such community in reality? That's it. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I hope that you all are practicing social distancing and staying home. Thank you so much.